Welcome. We're going to call to order the regular city council meeting and simultaneously the community redevelopment and the public housing authority meetings for tonight. Welcome. I'm going to do something real. Before we start, I just want to make one quick announcement. Normally, when we want to remember or recognize someone who has been ill, who has passed away in the city, we usually recognize them at the end of the meeting. But I think we had a member of our community pass away this past week, and I think it's fitting that we remember him in the beginning of the meeting because he was one of our founding fathers, and in fact, our very first mayor of our city, Mr. Lee Ware, and his portrait is that very first one there. So it was really fitting. I think it's fitting that we recognize him in the beginning of the meeting while everybody's here, everybody's paying attention. And what I'd like to do is read a little certificate we're going to give his family as just a little something from the city. Okay. It says City of Hawaiian Gardens honors the memory of Lee Ware. This certificate is awarded to our first mayor and one of the founding fathers of our city. He had the wisdom, tenacity, dedication, and hard work to incorporate the City of Hawaiian Gardens in 1964. He was a true leader, a pioneer, and loved our city. Lee Ware's passing is a great loss to the city, and we will forever be indebted to his many contributions and to his service to our community. Dated the 25th of January, 2011. So with that, we'll begin the meeting. Once again, welcome. Offering invocation at the start of a public meeting is an American tradition that goes back more than 200 years. The City of Hawaiian Gardens wishes to continue to honor this tradition with an invocation offered by our local community leaders, churches, religious groups, etc. The City of Hawaiian Gardens welcomes the participation of all segments of our community in these invocations. However, the City of Hawaiian Gardens employees and its City Council and its representatives do not advocate any particular religious faith or statement of belief, if any, as reflected in these invocations. With that, we're going to invite Pastor Hank Tribble from the Celebration Christian Center to lead us in the invocation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, City Council. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, City Council. I'm honored to pray. Father, in Jesus' name, we just come before you, asking your guidance in this meeting, my God. I just pray in Jesus' name that we unite and that we make decisions based on the needs of this city, my God, that we may be a light to the surrounding cities, my God. We give you praise, honor, and glory in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Hank. And now, leading us in the flag salute will be members from the Hawaiian Gardens Little League.
Can you put your right hand over your heart? We're going to say a flag salute. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, can we have the roll call?
Director Martin, Director Mahar, here. Councilmember Director Farfan,
here.
Councilmember Director Rodriguez,
Here.
Councilmember Director Bruce,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Vice Chair Member Canada,
Here.
Mayor Chair Member Mac Gomez.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Okay, we're going to go to our presentations and proclamations. Tonight we have a presentation by Fairbank, Muslim, and Mullen and Metz Associates to provide an update on the 2010 citywide survey relating to the community's satisfaction of city's programs and services.
I don't see it on here anymore. Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. Good evening. Thank you for inviting me to present your city satisfaction survey results. So I'll get started. We conducted the survey between September 15th and the 26th, 2010. We interviewed 400 City of Hawaiian Garden residents. They were extracted from a random sample of voters and a random digitial sample. And the results that you're going to see are based on a margin of error plus or minus 4.9%. We began by asking your residents, generally speaking, how would you rate Hawaiian Gardens as a place to live? Is it excellent, good, fair, or poor? 58% gave it a positive rating as a place to live, with 20% saying excellent and 38% saying good. 42% gave it either a fair or a poor rating. 20% in terms of the excellent is the high intensity. The low intensity is 11% poor. So you have basically a more positive to negative rating as a place to live your city. Then we asked them in their own words, what do you think is the most serious issue facing the residents of Hawaiian Garden that you'd like to see city government do something about? So this wasn't a list that we gave them. This was they expressed what they felt, and then we categorized them in groups of responses. And the number one response was they'd like something to be done about the gangs and the violence in the city. 25% said that. 19% said nothing. Things are going well. Don't do anything different. Just do what you're doing. Or they weren't sure. And usually voters have an opinion. So the fact that they weren't sure suggests that they're pretty happy with what you're doing. 17% said crime, and 8% said education and public schools. Most residents aren't aware that the city isn't responsible for the schools, and that's why they gave that response. In total, 1 in every 2 responses related to public safety issues. So clearly a concern in your city. We then gave them a random list of services and programs that your city provides. And we asked them after each one on a scale of 1 to 7, where 1 is not at all satisfied and 7 is very satisfied, how satisfied are you with that particular service? And you could see they're ranked by 6 and 7, which I'll define as very satisfied. So the dark blue is very satisfied, the light blue is somewhat satisfied, the brown is a neutral rating of 4, the red is 1 to 3, not 2 or not at all satisfied, and the yellow is I don't know enough to offer an opinion. And then the mean are just the average of the numbers from 1 to 7. We've excluded the 8 number. And what you can see from these results is that of the 9 services and programs that were asked, 7 of them had a very favorable or somewhat favorable rating, either very or somewhat satisfied, suggesting that generally people are satisfied with the services in your community. The leads clearly are fire and paramedic services, street lighting in your neighborhood, library services. The few services that people are less familiar with and generally not surprising, we see this in most cities, are youth after school and summer programs. If I don't have a child, I may not be familiar with the services that your city provides. And also management of city finances. They know you work with their tax dollars, but they're not quite sure what exactly you do with them in general. So we see that in most cities. The 2 items that are a little bit more of concern than most would be law enforcement protection in your neighborhood. There, 31% had a neutral or not too good a rating. And I'd say street lighting in your neighborhood, while you had a lot of favorable, there was still about 13% that said they were not satisfied or not too satisfied. So something to consider as you move forward. We then drilled down a little bit more into the law enforcement issue because that was of primary concern to the city. And we said, overall, how would you rate the level of service provided by Hawaiian Gardens law enforcement officers? Would you rate them excellent, good, fair, or poor? And in this case, 64% gave them a favorable rating, but about a third gave them a fair to poor rating. So the ratio is about 2 to 1 favorable to unfavorable. but that's something that you should be mindful of when you're reviewing the law enforcement issues in the city. And then, again, in their own words, we didn't provide them responses. We said, how would you rate overall, how would you rate the level of service provided by the enforcement? Would you rate, oh, sorry, that's the wrong question. We asked them in their own words. We said, for those people who said very satisfied, what did you like about it? And 27% said fast response times, come out right away, quick, they're there when we need them. And then 21% said good police presence, see them patrolling, cars patrolling, available, they're around when you need them. So 2/3 had very positive things to say, and these are some of the reasons why they said them. A third, as I suggested before, had somewhat concern for the law enforcement, and these were the reasons that they gave. 23% said takes them a long time to respond to an emergency, have to call a couple of times. 11% said need more patrols, no police around. What's really interesting about these findings is the reasons people gave for why they thought law enforcement was good were the same reasons, the same reasons they gave for why they thought there were trouble.
Yeah.
So clearly, some folks are thinking they're doing a great job for these reasons, and some folks aren't. Something to consider. We then we read randomly a list of aspects aspects of the sheriff's department, and we said after each one, tell me if you give it an excellent, good, fair, or poor rating. So the dark blue is excellent, the lighter blue is good, the brown is fair, the red is poor, and the yellow is they don't know enough to offer an opinion. And the percentages, and this is how I ranked them, were total excellent or good, where I combined the dark blue and the light blue together. And you'll notice of the 6 items that are present, all of them get at least 51% or more in terms of positive ratings, excellent or good. The leads here are effectiveness in curbing local crime, commitment to help citizens of Hawaiian Garden, and community involvement. The ones that are a little bit more troubling are the ones that, if you look at the brown and red together, and there you see the issue of professional treatment of people regardless of age. 22% said fair, 15% said poor. And then at the bottom, professional treatment of people regardless of race or ethnicity. There, 22% said fair, and 16% said poor. And then finally, we asked in this category, level of trust in the sheriff's deputies. Do you have a great deal, somewhat, not too much, not at all, or they volunteered, they didn't know enough to offer an opinion? 42% said a great deal, and 38% said somewhat. And you have about a little less than 2 in every 10 Hawaiian Garden residents saying not too much or not at all. And then we asked about perceptions of safety walking around neighborhoods. We do this in many cities. On the left, it's during the day, and on the right is during the evening. It's not unusual to always see the night being people feeling less safe than in the day. 80%, or 8 out of 10 of your residents, said that they felt safe walking around in the day in their neighborhood. 11% said unsafe, either somewhat or very unsafe. In the case of the evening, you've got a mixed bag. 42% say they either feel very or somewhat safe, and 44% say somewhat or very unsafe. So again, something to look into and to consider. Clearly, these are the next section that I'm moving into are sort of the highlights in terms of the great news I have to give to the city. And this focuses on Hawaiian Garden employees. We asked, have you had any contact with Hawaiian Garden employees in the last 2 years? 1 in every 2 residents said that they had some experience with them, some contact with them. And then we gave them a list of aspects of the service, and we asked them to rate them. Excellent, good, fair, poor, very poor. And then they might volunteer, I don't know, so that's the yellow part. So what I've done is I've combined the dark blue and the light blue together, so I've got excellent and good. All these items score 2/3 or higher in terms of positive ratings, excellent or good. These are very good ratings. The leads are courteousness, overall customer service, professionalism, and frankly, they're all high, knowledge and timeliness of response. And even there, I would have anticipated a lower rate because people don't know how long it takes to get back to them if you call them for some information. And yet, it was still high. So it really speaks well to the employees of the city. You should be very proud. And finally, we asked about a couple of quality of life proposals that the city may want to consider in the future. And we said after each one, tell us if you either support or oppose this particular proposal. The dark blue is the strongly support, the light blue is the somewhat support, and then the somewhat opposed is the sort of the beigeish color, the red is strongly opposed, and then the yellow is I don't have an opinion. And so the leads, clearly, the top two are offering city-run activities such as sports, music, drama, and arts program for young adults between the ages of 18 and 21 living in Hawaiian Gardens to promote safer neighborhoods and healthier recreational opportunities. There you have 90%, 9 and over 10 residents saying they would support this program. And what's interesting is not all of them have 18 to 21-year-old children, or youth in their home, and yet they're all very supportive of it because they understand the implications to your whole community. And then revitalize the area around Norfolk Boulevard and Carson Street. And there you have 86% that say they either strongly or somewhat support it. So another initiative. And finally, improving the look and appearance of the the Hawaiian Gardens Casino. There it's mixed. More people support it than oppose it, but there you've got 50% support and 37% opposition, with 13% not sure, they don't have an opinion. We also asked, the city wanted to know where people get their information about the community issues. And so we gave them a list of sources randomly, and we said, how frequently do you use the source to get your information? The dark blue is frequently, the light blue is occasionally, the beige is rarely, the red is never, and the yellow is they don't know enough about that source to offer an opinion. And clearly the leads are your city newsletter, which, we're talking 66%, two-thirds. That's very high. That's, very remarkable for people to get their information from a city newsletter that high. Other people, word of mouth. They spreads like fire. I know something, I tell my neighbor, tell my family members. That's high at 68%. And electronic billboards throughout the city. You've got 48% that say that they frequently or occasionally get information from that source. And that's it, and I'm happy to answer any questions. I would like to say that the city manager, his staff, and the two council members that were involved were exceptional. They really made my job a pleasure, and they were very involved and on top of everything, so I want to thank them for that.
Okay. Does anybody have any comments or questions for it?
And thank you very much, too. You were very professional and easy to work with. Appreciate that.
My pleasure.
I think in general, could I ask this question? In general, how do you think the city rated compared to other cities you surveyed?
I think its strengths are the employees, and the source of information. I mean, your newsletter does well. I think you have several challenges, and I think that's not going to be a surprise to the city. That was one of the reasons why you got involved in this. I think and I think it's recognized that there are places where you can improve in terms of particularly the concern about law enforcement. You certainly have, on the positive as well, you have several initiatives that are very strongly supported in the city, and you have some direction if the council chooses to go in that direction. You have the backing of the residents. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think it did. Thank you.
Sure.
Anything else? Well, will we get a copy of this PowerPoint and Okay, and then a summary of his thoughts.
And you have a report.
Okay, the report. Good. Okay, thank you.
And, I'm not that far away, so I'm always happy to chat with the city if they want to know more.
And this is public record.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right.
On the internet? Good. Okay,
All right, thank you very much for your time.
Okay, next under presentations, proclamations, we have a proclamation here declaring January 2011 as Mentoring Month. And so rather than we get up, I'll get up and stand over there. There is nobody really to receive this proclamation. I'll just read it here. And this is just something that we felt needed to be done. As you know, I'll read the proclamation. I think it'll be self-explanatory. Okay. It says, whereas the city of Weingarten's motto is our youth, our future. And whereas President Barack Obama issued a proclamation during declaring January 2011 as National Mentoring Month and encouraged governmental agencies to join in this year's National Mentoring Campaign. And whereas the City Council hereby joins in the 2011 National Campaign, which focuses on this year's theme, Help Them Get There, Become a Mentor. And whereas the goal of the national campaign is, as President Obama stated, across our nation, mentors steer our youth through challenging times and support their journey into adulthood. And whereas the Weingarten City Council concurs and agrees that volunteer mentors play a vital role in the lives of our children and teens as mentors help the youth in many ways. Help our youth in many ways. They encourage our children and youth to set and preserve in their dreams, to assist in academics and pursuing an education, and to help them build self-esteem and develop community leaders. And whereas mentoring serves as a role model as they are family, friends, coaches, businessmen and businesswomen, teachers and leaders who each individually and collectively serve to train our children and youth to better themselves and the community, to stay out of gangs, to say no to drugs and violence. And whereas mentors are very important as they help our children and our youth, and these are our community leaders of tomorrow. Whereas the members of the City Council of the City of Weingarten strongly support the efforts of President's National Mentoring Month campaign to continue to help children and youth achieve academic and social successes and encourage more people to volunteer and more people to be volunteers and mentors and to continue to make a true impact in our community. Therefore, be it proclaimed that I, Michael Gomez, Mayor, City of Weingarten, on this 25th day of January 2011, do hereby proclaim January 2011 as Mentoring Month and designate January 25th, 2011 as Mentoring Thank You Day in the City of Weingarten, and we urge everyone to consider volunteering as a mentor, thanking a mentor, and helping them to make a difference. When I heard about the President making this proclamation, as I'm sure people know, we have our mentoring program here in our community, and I thought it would be apropos that we recognize the President's proclamation because it is so important. And I've talked over and over again about our members program and how vital I think it is to our community and to helping our youth. So I would just say, I'm just going to take a couple sentences here from a book I read that describes why we should want to be a mentor. Okay, every young person deserves the opportunity to pursue his or her dreams. Unfortunately, there are too many kids today who have trouble believing in a future that will support their dreams. Becoming a mentor can change that. It only takes someone to care, someone to let them know they count. With the mentor's help, guidance, and support, they can find the tools they need to succeed in life. So I think I think later on in the meeting, we're going to be discussing the mentoring program and ways that community members can get involved and reach out and mentor the youth in our community. It's very important that we as adults, set the standard for the kids. And as we say, our youth, our future, we need to make sure that they have a bright future. So with that, I just want to thank you. And again, thank the president for making that proclamation. So with that, we'll move on to oral communications. This is the time reserved for members of the public wishing to speak on items on and not on the agenda, except for public hearing items. This period will be limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Maximum time allocated is 15 minutes. Upon conclusion of oral communications, the city council or city staff, at the direction of the mayor, may respond to any questions or statements that were presented by members of the public. The city council is prohibited by law from discussing or taking any action on these items presented during oral communications that are not on the agenda. And I'll just remind you that we did open all the meetings simultaneously, so there will be one oral communication period tonight. So this is it. So if anybody wishing to speak, please step forward and state your name and address for the record. Okay.
Glenn Cornejo, 12334 12th Street. Sorry, it took a little long. I thought more people were coming up. I just want to remind you, the kids that were up here from the Hawaiian Gardens Little League, just because they didn't get introduced as we started. But also keep in mind, they are doing really well. As you see, we're still doing strong. We got a lot of the board members here. So if you have any questions, or feel free to call any of us. We're all on the board. And we appreciate it, and thanks for your support.
Okay, thank you. Okay, seeing no one else, we'll close our communications. And pardon? I'm sorry. Okay, a little communication here, problem here. Anybody want to respond before we move on? No, okay. Now we'll move on to the Public Housing Authority meeting. Okay, item A, public hearings, none. Consent calendar. Items listed on the consent calendar are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion and one vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, that item may be removed from the consent calendar and will be considered separately. Does anybody wish to move any item from the consent calendar? No? Okay. So then, do we have a motion on the consent calendar? I'll make a motion to approve in its entirety. Microphone's not on.
Oh, sorry. Second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. Any discussion? No? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Okay, we go to item C, discussion items, none. No oral staff reports. Oral board reports. None. Let me just welcome our new board member, Barbara Martin, to the panel up here. She's served in the past, and I know she's going to do a good job assisting us as we go forward. Okay. Item F, closed sessions, none. And G, adjournment. We'll adjourn to the next regular meeting to be held on Tuesday, February 22nd at 6 p.m. Okay, we'll prepare for the continuation of the council meeting.
Seems like it would, huh?
Okay. I'll ask him. Okay, as we begin, this is time for city council members to discuss any changes in the order of agenda items. I'll ask if the council would like to move the two requests for donation up to the front of the order, because we do have the members of the community here, anxiously waiting to hear what the results will be, and maybe we can accommodate them and let them go home. Anybody have a issue with that?
No.
Okay. Okay, then we'll move to discussion items D1. Right? Consideration of a request from Melbourne Elementary School for monetary donations for field trips. Can we have? Is there a member here? Would you like to come to the podium and you can just from Melbourne, yes, and you can tell us why you think you need this money.
Good evening. I'm Jill Yasutaki. I'm the assistant principal at Melbourne Elementary School. And yes, we do need the money. I want to just thank the board in the past for your generous donations, and it helps fund pay for the entrance fees so our students can go to field trips. For example, some of the places they've been going are, like their fourth graders will go to the San Gabriel Museum, because the museum, the study of the missions is part of the fourth grade curriculum. Some of our grade levels go to the Aquarium of the Pacific. There's an educational side to Knott's Berry Farm that discusses the colonial days and the early American history. It's not just riding rides, but there is one perk that they get to do when they go there. And Discovery Science Center, our second graders go there, and our first kindergartens go to the Centennial Farms. Our PTA does help us with the transportation costs, and it's through your generous donation that help pay for our entrance fees. So again, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? Okay. Can anybody wish to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve. I'll second that.
Okay. In the amount of the motion?
5,000.
Okay, so you got a motion to approve in the amount of 5,000. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries, and we'll have you back shortly to receive your check.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And also, I want to thank the board again for your generous donation in funding the summer school program. I had the opportunity to be the summer school principal, and I did bring some letters from the students to thank the board for the opportunity to go to attend summer school this past summer. So again, thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to item D2, consideration of a request from the Hawaiian Gardens Little League for a monetary donation to purchase uniforms and equipment. We have a representative from the Little League here.
How you guys doing? My name is Frank Amal. I'm president of Hawaiian Gardens Little League. This is Don.
My name is Donald Mills. I'm the vice president.
Mayor Chow is player agent.
We're up about 20% on signups this year, so we do have more kids this year. Approximately about 175 kids, so that's way up than we usually have. We're still taking signups Mondays and Wednesdays at 3 to 6 at Betty right there, right next to Bloomfield Park. And we'll be using the park, Bloomfield Park this year. City of Lakewood granted us to use the park as our home field this year, so we do have 2 fields there plus Ferguson. And our opening day will be on March 5th, and it's going to be picture day and opening day at the same time. And the picture day will start at 9, and the opening day will start to introduce the teams at 11 o'clock a.m.
Also, in addition, this year we have included a information phone number for our Little League, as well as adding a Facebook page to actually get more publicity for our league to the public. Our information number is 310-818-3301. And our Facebook page is Facebook Hawaiian Gardens Little League. And as of today, we've gotten quite a few hits. We have about maybe 30 friends that have joined our Facebook page, and we're anticipating more.
That's good. I think also it should be noted that one of the issues you're dealing with is because you're having to use the fields in the Bloomfield Park, there is no snack bar over there, so that's going to limit your fundraising during the course of the season, correct?
Yes, that's correct. We're using their parks, and we're not allowed to sell any or make any food at the thing. So our snack bar is being eliminated this year. So we're gonna have to do more fun events, and we're fundraising. We're talking about candy sales and some other things that we're gonna do with the baseball team over there at Blair. What's the field called? Long Beach.
Oh, Blair Field with Long Beach State.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we're still moving ahead and just trying to make the best for the kids, for our youth here.
Okay, thank you. Any questions?
No, I don't have any questions.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, and the amount of
5,000.
5,000. Okay, motion approved. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Thank you. Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
I think we need to also mention that there was efforts of our Human Services Department to help you secure those fields over there in Lakewood.
Yes,
So I want to thank them.
Yeah,
And also maybe we could direct staff to send a thank you to the City of Lakewood for allowing our organization from our community to use their fields in cooperation. Okay.
Yeah, I want to thank Steve Gomez. He worked hard to hook us up with the director over there, and also Ernesto. Needed a show so we can get that field over there and talk to the right people. So I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, fantastic.
Okay.
The good news is hopefully with the if things work out as we're hoping, next year it won't be an issue. Thank you. Okay. And we'll go back to the top of the order. Consent calendar. I'm sorry, well, there's no public hearings and no ordinances, so then we go to consent calendar. Items listed on consent calendar are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion and one vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, that item may be removed from the consent calendar and will be considered separately. Is anybody wishing to remove any items from the consent calendar?
Yes, I would like to remove item C9, Public Safety Department, Los Angeles County Animal and Care Control.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we should remove 11 and 12 because those are good positive things that we should report on, I think, to the public.
Okay. If we have items number 9, 11, and 12. Any further? If not, then we have a motion to approve the rest of the calendar.
I'll make a motion to approve the remainder of the calendar in its entirety.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay. We'll go to item 9, Public Safety Department, Los Angeles County Department of Animal Care and Control monthly report for October and November of 2010.
Yes, if we go to page 74 of the agenda. There's numerous entries or reports from the animal control. And my question is that some of these are, they have the same address. For instance, on the first one on page 74, there was 1, 2, 3, 4 entries there of possums being caught, I guess. And they're at 22128 Sain Avenue. And of course, they were put to sleep. But why do we have the same entries? I mean, the same same address, the same animal. If we go to page 75, you have the same thing on Ibex. On 22411 Ibex, you have, of course, right there you have 2 Chihuahuas females and 3 Chihuahuas males, and they were also put to sleep. But they're all from the same address. The same, well, no, this ones here don't have the same date, but the one previous had the same date. 11, like on the possum one, it's 11/9/2010. And then you have, just below that, you have on Juliet, 3 reports on cats, the same address, same date. And then you go to page 81, and you have on Claretta 2 dogs, 2 separate reports, same address, both Tibetan terriers.
Tibetan terriers.
Tibetan terriers. And then you go down below, and this is on Bloomfield. I'm assuming that's the mobile home park. And you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cats, 7 cats. Dated almost. The dates were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on 10/13, and 2 on, or 1 on 10/15, and 1 on 10/8. How is this? I mean.
Yeah, Councilmember Rodriguez, obviously I don't want to make any assumptions. What I would request is that you provide us a little bit of time to go back and look at these individual cases with animal control and come back and report on them.
With this, we don't. Do we have those reports in house, or do they just send us?
They just provide us with the summary. That's
but they don't send us the actual report of who the owner of the who reported it, who the owner of the animal was, and so. No. So we're just going here on what they tell us.
I think I can add a little clarification. As you know, I drove an animal control truck for years. If you look at the very first column on the left, it's impound numbers, and they're all right. So but basically what's happened is they've picked up multiple animals at this address, and each animal gets an impound number.
Yeah, but it seems kind of strange at the same date, the same address.
Well, like on opossums, obviously, they probably found a mother and baby.
So they wrote one report for each individual little critter.
Well, they have to create an impound number for each animal. So that's, and I'm assuming I'm sure that's what each of these is. But
a while back, I was talking to Mr. Dave Sung on when I was looking at the warrants, and there was an item there. There was something like 20-something animals out of the mobile home park. I can't remember which one it was, whether the one on Lincoln or the one on Bloomfield, but they were all the same at the same date. So obviously something is, I don't know. It seems kind of strange that you pick up all these animals on the same date, even though you have the different report numbers on it. And like I said, some of them have the same address. Well, I can imagine on the possums. I guess if there was the mama and two little bit babies.
Something like that, yeah. And also, more than likely with the dogs and cats, there's probably somebody had a litter of maybe a wild cat had a litter of kittens in somebody's yard, and they called to have them picked up, and that's why they created that. But
so when they charge us for each individual. I mean, if it's a mama cat with 10 kittens, and then we pay for each individual little kitty so if we do have an impound number, if we ask for those impound numbers, will they be able to provide them, and they can tell us exactly who was the
Yes.
people that called, and what was it, and how much did we pay for those?
Sure, I'm sure they'll be able to provide whatever information we ask for.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Okay. Any other discussion on that? So we need a motion to receive and file.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Item C11, summary of survey results for the 2010 Hawaiian Gardens Youth Mentoring Program.
Yes, Mayor and members of the City Council, this staff report summarizes last year's youth mentoring program. Some background regarding this program: it operated from April through September of 2010. The city collaborated with the Youth Mentoring Connection in conducting these services. In total, we had 11 volunteer mentors. Their ages varied from 20 years old to 66 years old. 6 of these mentors lived within the city of Hawaiian Gardens. The remainder lived in neighboring cities. The 11 mentees were all residents of Hawaiian Gardens, and their grade levels varied from 8th grade, 10th grade, and 11th grade. And in briefly summarizing some of their comments that the Youth Mentoring Connection did provide them with this survey, overall the mentees or the youth all expressed an increase and improvement in school attendance, behavior, and school grades. They also listed an increase in self-esteem, anger control, and dealing with difficult situations. In addition, they expressed improvements in their communication skills, their likelihood of staying away from drugs and alcohol. They expressed an improved attitude towards finishing school, and as well as a strong sense of confidence. In addition, we asked them to write down some narrative answers to some questions. For example, has being a part of the mentoring program changed you, and how? All the students answered yes. We become more open, not scared of speaking in public, improvement in grades, and starting to think more about college. How would you like to see the program change, and why? More participants, more commitment, and a longer period of time with the mentor, as well as activities. Has the experience inspired you to give back to others? Yes, to be nicer. It was fun and good experience. Would like to give more advice to my friends. And also, how has being in the program or your mentor helped you think more about your future? And some samples were a desire to create new goals in life, more thinking about my future and school, and inspired me to reach my goals. And finally, how will you use what you have learned in the program? Some of the responses were to be more outspoken, be more confident with myself, and share what I have learned with other people. In addition, we also provided a survey for the mentors, the adults of the program. And overall, the comments were very positive. They were asked if they've seen a positive change in the mentee, and they overwhelmingly agreed with that, a very positive change. How have you as a mentor benefited by your participation in the program? All 11 said it was a huge personal benefit. So overall, the program was very successful, as you can see, as a result of these comments. Just to update you on the program for this year, next week staff is planning on meeting with the Youth Mentoring Connection. We have ongoing dialogue with them to discuss some of the logistics of the next session, some of the requirements on their part as well as the city's part in comparison to the budget that we have to fund the program. So staff can answer any questions you may have regarding this survey. And if not, staff requests to receive and file this report.
It's just very encouraging to see such good results, and wanted to know if you had any dates yet for when the next session starts.
Our goal is March or April sometime. I believe last year we started in April, so we want to try and keep it on the same schedule. That'll allow us to give time to marketing and recruitment for both the mentors and the mentees. And so we're hoping to finalize that at our meeting next week. And we'll update council with those dates when they are finalized.
That's great. Thanks.
I know that people have heard me, more than enough talk about my feelings of the program. I just want to point out, what an experience it is for the kids and for the adults. Our last session, it was just asking people, going around table, what did you feel of the program? What would you like most? What did you like least? Things of that nature. And one young girl, Floyd, she's out there listening. She's wonderful. She had us all in tears, and that made the program right there. So I encourage anybody who has the time, who has the heart to come and participate, become a mentor. And you'll be surprised at how it benefits yourself, even more than the kids. When you're helping somebody, you're helping yourself, and you don't realize it. So I just want to add that there.
If I may, I just want to say a couple words. I just wanted to commend Mayor Gomez on this program. This is a new program to the city. I know on top of a full plate with everything you're doing on behalf of the city council, that you and many others had to volunteer your time to get this program up and going. And obviously it has been successful. So just want to say thank you, and you've done a good job, and we hope to see this program continue. So,
thank you, Victor. Okay. With that, do we have a motion? I'll make the motion to receive and file.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. Move on to item number 12. A summary of survey results for the 2010 Hawaiian Gardens Tattoo Removal Program.
Yes, in conjunction with the mentoring program, staff also conducted a survey for the tattoo removal program. And this program has been in inception since May 2010, and the city has collaborated with Clean Slate Incorporated for these services. For the purposes of the survey, we had 34 program participants participate. Majority of these participants are residents of Hawaiian Gardens. The overall summary of the survey does indicate that majority of them feel welcomed and that staff is very respectful. They also feel that staff is knowledgeable and the counseling that is available is very beneficial. An overwhelming number of those surveyed scored very high as far as when they go to the clinic, they're treated with respect. The medical staff is extremely knowledgeable, and that the services are obviously very, very helpful. Those who participate in the counseling sessions, 28 out of the 34 indicated that they are very helpful. They describe the staff as extremely welcoming, and they all strongly agree that it is a vital program of Hawaiian Gardens. And this is a program that continues to take place monthly. It's generally held on the third Saturday of each month. We continue to get a large number of participants. The costs vary depending on the residency as well as the duration of sessions that the participant will have to come to, which depends on the sizing of the tattoo, the color or colors, and so on. Again, the positive remarks in the report do indicate that this is another positive program that the city is conducting. Again, I can answer any questions you may have, but staff requests to receive and file this report as well.
I noticed that it says total number of tattoo removal sessions 94. Do you have any record at all of how many actual tattoos were removed? Because I know it takes a process, and it's like maybe 6, 7, 8 times sometimes before a tattoo is completely eradicated.
I don't have that with me, Councilmember Bruce, but I'm sure we can get that information from Clean Slate. But as you indicated, yes, I mean, one person can come to one session and be done with it. Others, it may take multiple sessions, but we can get that information and provide that for you in the future.
I think this has been a really worthwhile program. I was able to go down there on several different occasions, and I saw some very nasty tattoos being removed. And when I say nasty, I'm referring to gang-affiliated tattoos, which to me is always great to see someone make the commitment to have those removed. Changes their life and their direction. The counseling sessions also were very, very good. The staff was very professional, very welcoming of the people, and I've just been very impressed with that program. I'm glad it's continuing as well.
I wonder, Steve, could we assume that you took, apparently there's 34 people who took the survey?
That's correct.
So ideally, we removed 34 tattoos.
At least so far.
At least, yeah. So that's a good number.
Yeah, we'll get that exact number and we'll provide that to you.
Yeah, I also think it was a worthwhile program because giving the people the opportunity to change, change their lives, not have to worry about the stigma of something showing, and hopefully allows them opportunity for employment and things of that nature also.
That's correct. And I think the counseling component really provides extra service to them.
Great. Okay.
Make a motion to move and accept that.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Move to discussion items D3. Discussion regarding Caramore Medical Group providing free screening services to the seniors of Hawaiian Gardens.
This is a carryover item from the public communications from last meeting. I believe a member of the public had inquired about this program continuing, and so it was agendized for discussion today.
Yeah, I had this agendized because apparently we couldn't discuss anything that wasn't agendized, and it started to become a discussion when oral communications took place. And so I thought that we had better move it to an agenda item. We had a petition of 40 seniors from the senior center who were concerned enough about the Caramore incident to sign a petition asking us to make sure that Caramore services continued at the city, which of course we want them to continue. Caramore has been helpful to us, has a working relationship with the city for probably about 5 years. Isn't it 5 years?
Close to 5 years.
And the incident that took place was that at the mayor's request, Caramore, who had set up services at the senior center, was told that they had to leave. They weren't giving an explanation why they had to leave. They were just shooed out of the city building. The staff person that told them that they had to leave was confused and upset about it because she had received information from her supervisor that she was allowed to have them there that day. There were 4 people from Caramore that set up that day. They had set up many times before with no problems. And I felt at the time when I heard about it that protocol wasn't followed, which is what bothers me the most. The protocol should be that a supervisor makes a decision and something is carried out through employees because the supervisor gives permission. And when the mayor or anybody oversteps a supervisor's position and their authority and makes a decision themselves, and then has an employee, it causes a lot of confusion is what basically happened, and a lot of upset. The reason that I really wanted to bring it up is because that day, on that Friday, I called the mayor to find out what happened, what's going on. And I got one piece of information from him that I didn't feel very good about. I also called some other people. And then when we had the meeting, the last council meeting, you presented a packet, a whole insurance explanation, which you didn't give me at all when I asked you the question. Seems to me like you had a lot of time to think about this. What bothers me even more is when I confronted you on the phone about it that day, you said that you would call Caramore and that you would respond to them. I called Caramore today. You never did call them. You never did respond to them at all. And I just think that that's not good business. I mean, somebody who's provided service to us for 5 years, good programs for our seniors, and then to treat them like that without any explanation, which they did not receive. And Mr. Rodriguez pointed out at the last meeting that why weren't they given the courtesy to at least have explained to them then? Insurance policies aren't set up correct. We need to ask you to leave. That didn't happen. They were just told to leave. The employee didn't know why she was telling him to leave, just that the mayor told her to say so. And the worst thing of all about this is that a outsider who doesn't work in the city of Hawaiian Gardens was the one that made the call and said that Caramore needed to leave. It was a request of somebody outside of the city who doesn't work in the city. And the mayor, Victor Farfan, not the mayor now, but the mayor then, did something for somebody outside of the city of Hawaiian Gardens. It's not acceptable behavior. We don't do things for political favors for somebody else or for business favors for somebody else. We should be concerned about our staff. We should be concerned about our people. And first and foremost, we should be concerned about the city that we represent, making sure that they get the services that they should get. And so I felt a little bit bamboozled at the last meeting when you came up with that wonderful report and pamphlet and the whole thing, because that's not at all what you told me back then. And I'm very upset that you never bothered to call Caramore, that it was never important enough to you to call. He did say that he received a call from you, Ernesto, and that was the only call that he got. And I understand that a letter has been drafted now, but that's way after the fact. This happened a long time ago. So that's why I wanted to discuss it, because I just feel that, there's not transparency going on here. I don't have a problem with someone making mistakes, but when they just try to gloss over what they did and not own up to it, it's bothersome to me. And I felt that this hurt. I felt that it was pretty much it was a bad move because it affected our staff from our city, and it affected our seniors from the city. And it affected an organization that gives us free services for our city. And I just want to make sure that those kinds of things don't happen in the future.
Obviously I spent some time contemplating upon this, and so obviously I have a response to it. And first of all, I want to say that these allegations are not true. I want to point out that the safety to our residents is a very important factor to why I sit up here today. My background as a city council member, as a mayor, is that I sit on the Joint Powers Insurance Authority. As I mentioned in the previous meeting, I'm an insurance broker full-time. I've been in the insurance industry for the last 10 years. So every year I do training. I do training also with the Joint Powers Insurance Authority. I've been told that as a leader, we must promote risk management within our city culture. And if we fail to do so, we are basically putting our city at jeopardy. We have been with the JPA since 1978, and our record has been very clean. But if we fail to follow the guidelines that are set by the JPA, then we are exposing the city to potential suits, claims, whatever they may be. I believe this issue has been resolved. I've actually spoke to Dan last week. I explained to him my reasoning for the decision. He told me that one particular time they did actually provide service of insurance to the city. However, within the last 5 years, they have failed to do so. I want to point out that this is very common procedure within the city, and I could give the council a copy of this. Everyone could have a copy of this. Let's pass it out. Right here, we have the City of Hawaiian Gardens Human Services Department. It's an application of agreement for recreational facility uses, okay? And basically, this gathers generic information for whoever's going to be utilizing the facility here. It asks about insurance information. It's a generic contract that is used on a day-to-day basis. So this is something that is in existence right now. This is not something that was created yesterday. For people to utilize when they're using a facility such as the rec center, okay? Why, in fact, this has not been used, I do not know. Maybe staff overlooked it for the last 5 years. I don't think that was the most appropriate decision. Upon speaking to Dan, he said there's no problem whatsoever in terms of filling this out, but this has to be filled out prior to an organization coming on our premises. It's very common practice. It's basically a protocol that must be followed. The JPIA basically has certain standards that need to be followed, and for some reason or another, we're not following them. I did follow up with Steve Gomez right after the incident occurred. I could show everyone the email that I sent him. Here's a copy of that. And I asked Steve, can you please forward me a copy of the cert of insurance that's provided by the City of Hawaiian Gardens along with the dates that the cert was issued? Steve basically wrote back to me and said, after consulting with CareMore, basically there are no documents that were found. Okay, not even the rental file facility. And so as a result, we weren't following protocol. Okay, so I informed Steve, well, on a going forward basis, I don't have an issue with having CareMore on our facility, but I want to make the recommendation that they just follow the simple protocol that, has been set up. Bruce, you said that I did not touch upon this in our conversation, but let me remind you that I did. Okay, and and the reason why I did remember is because you specifically told me that CareMore, that you actually had them at your own facility, and you said, "Well, why do we need to gather certs of insurance? I don't do it at my facility." And at that point, I realized that you really didn't have a true understanding of why I would go through this process. So, I tried to explain to you about 3 times the importance of a certificate of insurance, about getting named as additional insured and all that. And I guess maybe because the practice isn't commonplace and maybe you didn't utilize that with CareMore, you thought it was okay for the city not to do it. But the city is a large entity. It's something that's required by our insurance organization. So we did have that discussion, okay? And then once again, in response to you saying that I did not call him, I did actually have the conversation with him. I talked to him on his cell phone. He was on his way to Redondo Beach, and we had the discussion. Okay, so I did follow up with what I said I would do. There was a letter that was provided to Dan, And there's a copy that was handed to each of the council members. I have a copy here. It basically explains that, we apologize for this unfortunate incident that has occurred. It's a lesson that has been, that we will take on a going forward basis in terms of handling things. And, sometimes these things need to occur as a wake-up call to the way we, practice and we do things. Okay? And so that's the extent. I mean, I know a lot about insurance, and this is something that, I take serious. We have a full-time risk manager that works for the organization on a day basis, and if staff has questions, they could, and it's Bob Franco. They could turn to Bob Franco and have any questions answered that they feel that maybe they don't know about, they don't feel comfortable about. So that's my explanation.
Okay, well, Dan must have some problems remembering things in, because when I talked to him today on the phone, I asked if you had called. And he asked for your name. I told him your name, and he said he has never called me. So I don't know why he said that, but that's what he told me on the phone today, and I'm not lying either. Maybe he's mistaken. He told me that he did get a letter. He told me that Ernesto Marquez called him, the city administrator. That's what he said. Okay.
Maybe he read the letter and then assumed that Ernesto
it's possible,
called him,
but
so.
The main, and I know you know plenty about insurance. I know that's your business. So, but on the phone, Victor, when I talked to you, and I shared with you the things that I had heard and suspected, you did not give this explanation. No way. You said something about insurance, but it was very shady, and it was very, you sounded very unsure. You sound very sure now, and you sound, like you really know your stuff, and I'm sure you do. But my question's the same as Ray's. I mean, why didn't you explain that to Caremore when they left that day? Why was our employee sent there to just say, get out in the name of the mayor, and that's basically all she had? What a rotten position to put an employee in who had already given them authority to do that because her supervisor gave her authority to do that. And the thing that I really didn't want to bring up, but I need to now because I'm forced between a rock and a hard place, is the person that called in the first place and alerted you about Caremore being there was somebody who is not an employee of the city. And when I called that person to ask them what they were doing, their words to me were, well, they do not give the money to the city. And he went on to explain, this other group gives money to the city, and therefore, that's why you need to tell them to leave. He was very straightforward with me, telling me that in no uncertain terms, he was very clear that the reason he told you to do what you needed to do was because money comes from this other organization and not Caremore. And that bothered me the most. And when I confronted you with that, you did not have a good answer for me at all. And that's when you kind of seemed to skirt the issue and you went and said, well, they've been kicked out before. And when I asked you why they had been kicked out before, you didn't have a good answer. And then you said something about, well, we need to have certain forms on them, insurance forms. And that's when I talked to you about that. You didn't say as much as you said about it then. Why weren't they told about this then? Why didn't anybody seem to know? Why didn't Steve do that? He's the supervisor. Why didn't he talk to them? Why was it done in the fashion that it was done? And why did I end up talking to somebody who doesn't even work for the city, who is telling me that I called the mayor and I told the mayor to do this because? It wasn't right. And not only that, Ernesto wasn't even here during that time because he was on his way to be married. And so Howard Caldwell was supposed to be in charge, and he wasn't called. He didn't know about it. It was somebody that was totally unrelated that had to go handle the situation at the direction of the mayor. It was not proper protocol. It wasn't done correctly, and it caused a lot of harm, and it caused a lot of confusion. And my goodness, if I was confused about it and I was talking to the people, then I can imagine why seniors are signing a petition thinking that CareMore is out of the picture now. Again, I need to say that we need to be a city that is not doing things for political favors, not getting ourselves into something and then bailing ourselves out with stories. We need to be forthright, and we need to handle things the way they're supposed to be handled, according to the bylaws of the city, according to how employees are supposed to be treated. And nobody should be sending messages down to do work that shouldn't be happening. That should be handled through supervisors. It should be handled through the right channels. And then there won't be confusion and there won't be upset.
I mean, we could go on and on about this. So I'm just going to say, maybe the tact of this whole experience probably wasn't the most appropriate. Like I said, I think things have been resolved. The people who need to know what needs to be done on a going forward basis have been communicated to. And I'm sure we'll see CareMore, back here helping out the seniors when the time is appropriate and when they've filled out the proper documents. So.
Can I ask a question, Ernesto? CareMore is an insurance company. Are we, at this point, going to allow, if Secure Horizon wants to come in and do testing, I mean, is this going to open up to every insurance company to come in and screen our seniors?
That's a good question, and that's probably something that we'll have to come back to you on. But my initial response is obviously, the city's not in the position to be turning down free services, especially for seniors. So we try and do our best to reach out to whomever wants to provide services to us. And when they're free of charge, that's even better. But that would be something that we need to look at. Councilman or Mayor Pro Tem Canada.
I'd just like to make a statement on all this fiasco that went through. There was a lot of mistakes made that day, and we should, the reason I say we is because we're all part of this government. We should just step up to the plate and admit that we made mistakes that day. We should apologize to CareMore and our seniors for what happened that day, and work with CareMore or whoever wants to come in and provide free services to our seniors. I think that's better for all of us. So let's just step up and say we made a mistake and learn from it and continue on.
I have a comment to make. Yes, I as Mr. Marquez says, that apparently the CareMore did it for free. But what is it costing? I'm wondering, are these screeners, are they supervised? Is there a doctor in charge? How do we know that they're giving, accurate tests? And if they do, somebody does test and they have a dangerous level of whatever they're testing for, what is the response? Do they just tell them to go see their doctor and let them go, or do they, call 911 or make sure they get attention? Because if they just tell them to go see their doctor, I bet 99% of people won't. And if somebody should go home and fall ill, they can come back to the city, because we had this group there checking them, and they let them go, even though it was a dangerous situation they were in. So these are kind of questions we have to ask when we let organizations come in, and I think it goes with the insurance. I also think the way it's done kind of concerns me, in that this is happening during the senior lunch program, and that's a federally funded program, and so we're using the federal money to benefit a private organization to come in here, and yes, they're testing, But you know the reason they're doing that is to recruit people to sign up for their insurance. So we have to look into all that and make sure that we're protecting the residents, not just in allowing them to get these screens, which I think are important, but making sure their interests are protected so they don't get used and abused by someone. And I'm not saying anything about this organization. It could be any organization that comes in. I think it's incumbent upon us to make sure that everybody abides by the laws and whatever standards we set, and that our residents are protected.
Well, obviously, 47 seniors, our seniors here in Hawaiian Gardens, don't think your way. If you can't trust your doctors, you can't trust your nurses, who are you going to trust?
Well, I think we should invite CareMore to come here, and I think we should have them share a presentation on their services, and I think that they should explain how they operate, because that just opened up a whole new can of worms. That needs to happen. So I would like to ask staff to have CareMore be invited to the next meeting, have them speak, have them share on the exact questions that Mayor Gomez asked, because they're good questions. I'm sure they have answers for those questions.
I recommend that we don't go there. If they're a medical provider, they're already licensed through the state, regulated through the state. We don't want to get in the business of regulating these professionals and providing their services. I think with the form that we have, where they are assuming the liability and agreeing to defend and indemnify the city, we've taken care of the issue with respect to their malpractice and who's responsible. They will be responsible. Their insurance will be responsible. But for this council and the city and staff to start looking into their professional services, we are not medical doctors to make a call as to whether they're doing it right or wrong. We don't want to go there, because then we're taking on some responsibility that some other state agency and that they themselves as professionals have. So I would recommend we would either decide that we open up the city to these groups and let them comply with the regulations they're subject to, and we'll leave it at that. And
well, that's my case in point exactly. Of course they're bona fide. Of course they can do this service. I mean, they've been doing it for how long, Ernesto? How long have we had these services being done here at the city?
I think it's close to 5 years.
So, I mean, of course. The point is here we go again. Let's just cover up our mistake by making somebody else look like they're suspicious. That's just nonsense. The problem here is protocol and how things were handled, and the cover-up in handling those things. No one outside the city of Hawaiian Gardens should be telling anybody in the city of Hawaiian Gardens how to do business here so that they can have business. We don't do political or business favors for people just because they're powerful people, or we think they're powerful, or they support us. We don't do that. That's not what we're about in the city. We are about providing services for our people. That's all I have to say.
Okay, anything further? There's really nothing to end the discussion. Okay. If there's no other comments, then we'll just move on. Okay. To item E, new business, none. F, closed session. Yes. Okay, we do have two closed sessions that we'll do at the end of the redevelopment meeting. Item G, oral staff reports.
Yes, staff would like to remind the community that the city's first boxing show of the calendar year is scheduled for Saturday, February 5th at the C. Robert Lee Activity Center beginning at 1 p.m. And we anticipate anywhere from 15 to 18 bouts. Once again, that's Saturday, February 5th at 1 p.m.
The Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council, just want to remind the Council of the workshop that will be continued for next Monday regarding the zoning code amendment. And then from there, probably within the next 30 days or so, we'll have the solicit community input and provide a workshop here in the city council chambers. So that's ongoing. Also wanted to provide an update on, we've been notified that the shade structure, or the breezeway between the city hall facilities and the recreation building, is somewhat in need of substantial repair. So we're in the works of obtaining proposals and bids for repair or demolition and replacement, or whatever the case may be. So we will be providing the city administrator's office some options of what we're going to do with the breezeway. In the meantime, portions of that structure has been red tagged, so to speak, since it is falling apart. There's severe termite damage as well and dry rotting. So we will keep the council abreast on that, being that that is not an item that's in the budget, and I suspect it's not going to be cheap.
Okay, no further staff reports? Okay.
Yes, I have one. Yes.
Oh, one.
Yes, Honorable Mayor and Council, I just want to let the residents know that we do have an opening on the Planning Commission. One of our commissioners had to resign recently. There's still an opening on the Public Safety, so if anyone's interested, they can contact me and send a letter of interest. And once the letters of interest are in, then the Mayor and Mayor Pro Tem interview the people. So right now we have an opening on the Public Safety Commission and one on the Planning Commission.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to oral council reports.
I would just like to comment on the excellent program at the library, the Freedom Child performance. And I know you were there, Mike. I saw you. I can't remember the actress's last name. I remember her first name, Gigi, but I can't remember her last name. She did a solo performance, and it was outstanding. It was really great to see both young children and older children there participating in that, and she was such a convincing performer, talking about her, well, it wasn't really her, but you thought it was, participating in a freedom march in the 60s, and it was just so emotionally filled, and it was an excellent program the library put on, and I just wanted to say thank you.
If I may, I just like to ask Mr. Steve Gomez on this new program, the Theater Arts Program. I noticed there's a fee of $10 per session, and this is a 3-month long program. Are you charging $10 per month, or?
No, sir, that's $10 for the entire session. So it's $10 for the 3 months.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yes.
That's exciting that that's starting. That's good.
Okay. I just have a couple of things to add. Last week, Mayor Pro Tem and I and Councilmember Parkman attended the flag football banquet held here in the center. It's a cooperation between the city and the Feddy Middle School for the flag football team. They did very well. They won 16 games and lost 1 this year. Came in second in the regional. One game they lost, unfortunately, was a championship game, I believe. But they did really well, and it was great to see the parents there in attendance to the banquet. That was the best part. There was a lot of parents there, and it was good to see them participating. I just want to note that on February 5th, at Artesia High School, their AVID program is having a swap meet. Recall last year we donated some funds to the AVID program. It's a program that's designed to help students who maybe haven't learned the discipline that's required to apply themselves in the classroom as they should. So they teach them skills, and they prepare them and hopefully help them go on and move on to college education. So they're having a swap meet to raise money for their program. So I encourage anybody to donate items or go by. Yes. Also, as some of you may have noticed, I'm no longer wearing that boot on my foot that I got playing kickball. While recuperating, I decided to take walks to strengthen my leg, and I've been walking my dogs, and I decided to walk up and down Carson and Norwalk Boulevards, and I noticed a few things I'd like to report. Over by the entrance to the center where the new market is, right there where Alberto's restaurant is at that exit, there's a bench there, and I noticed that at where the bus stops are, there's benches by the bus stops, and it's fairly neat and clean. Trash seems to go in the trash cans. But there is no trash can by that bench, and it's messy most of the time. So maybe we could look into putting a trash can by there. I also noticed that our plaques for our mayor's scholarship. I'll walk looking at the names. The 1995 plaque has sunken. Some of the bricks are twisted on their side, and some are missing. So I think maybe we need to go over there and fix that up, make it look presentable. And I just want to point out, walking in front of the library on the sidewalk. They did a really good job with that landscaping there. I mean, I walk by there, I feel like that 100 feet or so, I'm in a whole different atmosphere. The plant, I can't stop looking at the different plants and how well it's maintained. So I just want to commend who's ever taken care of it, and that they've done a good job. And finally, last week, or at the last meeting, we all talked about the volunteer recognition banquet and how wonderful it is, and we thanked all the volunteers, but it was pointed out to me that we forgot to mention who the volunteers of the year were this past year. So I just thought I better recognize them now. Two winners are Irma Perez and Juan Galvez. They're volunteers who spent a lot of time here in the center helping. Juan's everywhere. Irma's in the senior center, so they've done an excellent job, and I want to congratulate them. With that, we'll move on to the redevelopment meeting. Okay. Item A, no public hearings. Item B, consent calendar. Items listed on the consent calendar are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion and one vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, that item may be removed from the consent calendar and will be considered separately. Is anybody wishing to remove any of the items from the consent calendar?
I'll make a motion to approve in its entirety.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Go to item C, new business, none. No discussion items, no closed session. Oral staff reports, none. Oral agency reports, none. Okay, then if no objection, we'll adjourn to the next regularly scheduled redevelopment meeting on February 22nd. And now we'll take a break and go into closed session. Okay. Okay, we reconvene after the closed session, and no reportable action, right? Okay, and with that, we'll adjourn to our next regular scheduled meeting on... Oh, that's right, we have till Monday, January 31st, okay.